stay idle right there. Hold that back pressure. Look at that. So good. Hey, it's Vas here from Aussie RC Playground, and today we're going to be reviewing the Durafly Me-163 V2. So with reviews on aeroplanes, I start off with the specs, and this guy here has a 950mm wingspan. It is 585mm long. Flying weight is somewhere around 800 to 850 grams. ESC is a Durafly 40 amp. Motor is a 2836 2200 kV outrunner, and it comes with two 6x4 props. Now the center of gravity for this guy calls for about 85 to 90 mil from the joining line of the wing. So I've got actually another Me-163, which is a slightly older model, and you can see here where I've marked my CG is on both sides underneath the wing. That's roughly where you'd want that to be. It is pretty much set from factory, and there's really no adjustments that really need to be done. This is a very short fuselage as well, so you do want to make sure you get that right before you take this thing up, because it is quite CG sensitive. Now when you get the Me-163 V2 in the box, it's not going to come fully assembled. It's going to come in bits, and you're going to get a sheet that looks like this. That's just going to be a basic quick start guide. It'll have, you know, the plane specs over here, some recommended throws for your control surfaces over here, CG markings, and a QR code that will take you to the full assembly manual that you can find online. But essentially, this is pretty easy to put together. It just requires a little bit of gluing. So you have to glue the main wings on, and of course install your spar, which is going to be running through there. As you can see that black rod just there. You're going to need to glue your vertical stabilizer on as well, and then install your control rods, which as you can see here, I've done on my rudder, and then on my elevons, I've done it this way. So I've mounted at the lowermost hole that you see there, and then the highermost hole on the control horn just there on the control surface. So that's essentially how I've done that. Then you need to glue on your little torpedo here, the little antenna on top of the canopy, install your prop and spinner, and away you go. You are ready to go fly. Okay, so now we've come to the part of the video where I get to give you a little bit of pilot feedback and go over some of the features and changes that they've done on the Me-163 V2. Now, this is not my first Me-163. I've actually got 4 of these planes, and I did a review of the first one about 5 years ago or so on this very channel. And of course, I'll put a link in the video description for you guys to check out. Now, I will have a more in-depth and detailed review on my second channel, which is Aussie RC Airspace. And if you want to know more about this plane and some of the changes and things that I've done to it, feel free to go check out that channel. I'll have a video in there that's going up at the same time as this one, and you'll get to see a much longer review with a lot more detail there. So with the Me-163 V2, they changed a couple of things here. Number one, the dolly is a lot wider than the original V1. So we'll grab this guy here real quick, and I'll show you the V1 dolly, and you can see the difference in width just there. They also did away with the magnet. So on the original V1, there was an additional servo, which this one has a provision for, and the servo would have a rotating magnet, so it would stick on a certain position. You would then take off and then flick a switch, and the magnet would rotate, reversing the polarity and pushing the dolly out of the plane. Now it kind of relies on gravity to do that work, which is why I've had to sand and sort of take away some of the paint that was on here, because it was jamming up inside the plane. So now it actually just falls off real easy. So I can take off with it, and then just vibration and the wind will just make this thing fall out, which is a pretty neat little way to do it. They also added an additional tail wheel on these planes, which originally didn't have a tail wheel. It was just flat here, so it definitely makes it a lot easier to take off with the plane. Now they do provide a 6x4 prop with these aircraft. I personally am not a fan of the 6x4 prop that they provide, which is this one here. I you know, I've got about half a dozen of these props, and none of them are really very well balanced. They don't sound very good either. I did do at least one flight, I think, with this stock prop, and then I changed out to a different 6x4 prop, and it flew a little bit nicer because it didn't have, you know, the balancing issues. And eventually I just went back to my original setup. And my original setup is a 7x3 Master Air Screw prop with a 60 amp ESC. So in here, I'm actually running a plush 60 amp ESC that you see there, and the Master Air Screw prop. There is only one little thing that you need to do to install the different prop, and that is that on the spinner, you actually have to cut out these little walls here. So you can see the original spinners, they have these walls on there, and then because these bigger props have bigger hubs, you got to just trim them out a little bit to allow the spinner to fit over the top. Aside from that, you know, the plane flies just as good as the V1. In fact, it flies better because now I can actually take off with it from the ground, and that's with the bigger prop on a grass runway, which is absolutely amazing. I struggled so much to do that with the V1, so to be able to do that with the V2 is actually a really cool trick. It's a lot more scale, but I still like to hand launch my MEs, and I'll show you how I hand launched, you know, in this video. So it's a pretty neat way to do it if you don't have, you know, if you're not very good at taking off from the ground. But if you want to, you know, just hand launch it with the wingtip toss, you can do that as well. The planes fly fantastic. Top speed on these things is anywhere between 200 to 239. I think I got 240. So it really depends on the battery that you're running, wind conditions and weather conditions. They're very fast planes. They're a lot of fun to fly, which is the reason why I have 4 of them. I've got the V2, my original V1. I've got another V1 that's the same as the V1 scheme. And then I've got another one, which is an orange and silver scheme. So they're absolutely awesome planes. I really don't have too much to complain about other than the ESC getting really hot, which is why I change it over. And then of course the props just aren't really very good, which is why I change these over as well. But this is the magic combo. Great performance, great speed, good efficiency. The planes fly fantastic as they are. So that's going to wrap it up for this review, and I'm going to leave you now with some flight footage of the Me-163 doing its thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this format and this type of content. If you do, be sure to check out my second channel, which is Aussie RC Airspace. I'll have a link in the video description for you to click on, and be sure to subscribe to that channel. You'll see a lot more of me flying different types of aeroplanes, and I'll be doing a lot more reviews on that channel going forward. Again, big shout out to Hobby King for sending this one out for review. I do appreciate them supporting the channel once again, especially now that they've got an Australian warehouse. So very much looking forward to seeing what other products they release in the future. And hopefully you'll see some more reviews here on the channel from Hobby King. That is it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit the like button before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and I'll be speaking to you all next time. All right, we're going to do a speed test, and we're going to use the dolly again. So let's see if this takes off okay. I'm always a little bit nervous with this, but let's see. I can't believe that works so well. That actually works really well. All right. Come on, feed the power in, full pace. Whoa! Rocking a CNHL 2200 40C. One of the few packs I have that can actually fit in there. Going upstairs again, rolling over. And down the slide she goes, feed the power in, straight at us. Nice little barrel roll right in front. Easing off. Let's ease off, catch a breath. Cruising by at about half throttle. Around we go. All right, let's go up again. Roll over. There's a bit of a gust now, which is perfect. Here we go. Feed and power in. Down the runway. Straight as an arrow. God, I love these things. It's so fun to fly. They look great. They sound awesome with this prop. And it's just fun. Just a really unique, interesting plane. I'm so glad they exist. Flies. Come on, man, please. Leave me alone. All right, one more pass. And we're coming for a landing. Here we go. Power off there. And just a little bit of power. Okay, idle. Here we go. Oh, nice. There's a bit of wind to slow it down. Oh, it's going to slow it right down. It's going to land right in front. Perfect. Motor off. Okay, let's see what we got. Then we have to go fetch our dolly over there before we forget. Let's see here. Stop. Read. 231. Okay, now we're cooking with gas. Now I believe the figures. All right, so they're all pulling about 230. That's fantastic. Okay, so the 180 was obviously the one that was out. These are the ones that count. I'm happy with that. Let's get our dolly and let's wrap this up.